Now, this next story is confounding because it takes sort of an existing pattern and flips it on its head on both sides of the aisle. It seems like on Team Red, we're trying to cut back on the number of asylum seekers here in the United States. I think that program's been abused, and a lot of people who are claiming they're asylum seekers, really it's just a thinly veiled excuse for unchecked illegal immigration. On the other side of the aisle, they love asylum seekers so much, they even want the illegal immigrant, criminal, domestic violent gangbangers returned to the United States after they've been deported. Now we have a situation where Donald Trump was asked about the asylum seekers from South Africa that just got approved, and now everything's flipped on its head. Team Red is embracing asylum seekers, and Team Blue is disgusted by the fact that we would allow asylum seekers. Why is that?
Why are you creating an expedited path into the country for hunters but not others?
Because they're being killed, and we don't want to see people be killed. Now, South Africa leadership is coming to see me, I understand, sometime next week. And, we're supposed to have I guess a G20 meeting there or something. But we're having a G20 meeting. I don't know how we can go unless that situation's taken care of. But it's a genocide that's taking place that you people don't want to write about. But it's a terrible thing that's taking place. And farmers are being killed. They happen to be white. But whether they're white or black makes no difference to me. But white farmers are being brutally killed, and their land is being confiscated in South Africa. And the newspapers and the media, television media, doesn't even talk about it. If it were the other way around, they'd talk about it. That would be the only story they'd talk about. And I don't care who they are. I don't care about their race, their color. I don't care about their height, their weight. I don't care about anything. I just know that what's happening is terrible. I have people that live in South Africa. They say it's a terrible situation taking place. So we've essentially extended citizenship to those people to escape from that violence and come here.
Well, I love this story. I think it's a sad scenario that these South Africans are in. I don't know if it reaches the level of genocide, but there have been thousands and thousands of people killed in that country based on the color of their skin. And they have the videos online where they've lined up all the crosses for every one of the white farmers that have been killed in racial violence over the last whatever years. And there's thousands of these crosses that line a highway for miles and miles and miles. There's the Place Mord that has a few thousand white farmers who were killed in ethnic cleansing violence. So, I mean, there's a lot of people that are being killed. And if everything turns out to be true, like this is racially based, then of course they deserve asylum in the United States. And that's totally fine. And it's also totally fine in the fact that when they come here, they already speak the language. They're already, free market capitalist, developed nation citizens who are going to fit right in. It has nothing to do with color. But it also has something to do with the fact that when they get here, do they start gangs? Do they commit disproportionate amounts of crime? Do they segregate off into their own neighborhoods and turn them into weird slums with litter everywhere? And do they eat the geese out of the park? No. What do they do when they come here? Well, I don't know. Charlize Theron, Elon Musk. What are they going to do? Build rockets? Set up Starlink? So this is a group of immigrants that we welcome with open arms, that it almost sounds like meet the definition of what the asylum policies are spelling out in the United States. So when you go to MSNBC, why do they think we're accepting South African asylum seekers? Oh, of course. It's racism. You're just a terrible person.
Has virtually halted refugee admission in America for people fleeing war and famine in places like Sudan and the Democratic Republic of Congo. Back with Rick, Mark, and Eddie. Rick Stengel.
Yes, it's so deeply and morally wrong-headed and repulsive.
Oh, yeah.
These are the descendants of the people who created the most diabolical system of white supremacy in human history,
Not
apartheid.
Really.
They're not directly responsible for it, but it was a system that actually moved black people off of the arable land. So they inherited the land that the black people had to give up. It was called forced removal. It was something called a Bantustan policy, where they moved black people out of the cities and farmlands into these remote areas with non-arable land. I mean, it was just one of the most worst processes ever.
I love this. I'm so glad they bring this up, because this is all easily verifiable with a couple of Wikipedia searches. Really? These are the children of apartheid. You're the children of the Democrat Party. Do you have any idea how the history of your party stacks up against apartheid? Democrat Party, by all metrics, 10 times worse than apartheid. And you're like, James, that's a bold statement. Apartheid's a terrible thing. Apartheid is a terrible thing. I'm not pro-apartheid. Apartheid's just god-awful. Crime against humanity. Democrat Party's worse. Look at the record. You just heard that guy say, oh, yeah, they were removing people from their homelands. What was Indian removal? That was Democrat policy. Andrew Jackson, Trail of Tears, first big Democrat president. They've removed more people than apartheid did. The Democrats did, and they would make them move like 10 different times. Yeah, we told you could move here, but now we're going to move you again. Now we're going to move you again. Now we're going to move you again. Wasn't there black removal by Democrat Party, Buffalo Soldiers and all that, mistreatment? What about segregation? Apartheid had segregation. Oh, yeah, also a Democrat policy. Yeah, y'all kind of tied on that one, too. Yeah, even today, who's the side of the aisle that wants black-only spaces? It's not Team Red. On top of that, Democrats were worse than apartheid in many ways. Democrats had slavery. They supported that. Apartheid never did anything that nasty. Apartheid doesn't have anything close to the KKK. They didn't run around in scary outfits and dumb pointy hoods harassing black people based on the color of their skin. Apartheid's responsible for a few thousand deaths. Some of the estimates say 21,000 up to 30,000. Democrats killed hundreds of thousands. Heck, if you just count the Civil War, which is the Republicans versus Democrats, if you want to phrase it in the most philosophically accurate way. But here's the nastiest part. For all of apartheid's shortcomings and misgivings and evils and horrors, it only lasted about 50 years. The Democrats have been running around ruining people's lives for about 200 years. On what metric is the Democrat Party better than apartheid? 800-288-9227. I mean, that's kind of a rhetorical question, but if you got an answer, I'd love to hear it. Come defend the Democrat Party's history against apartheid and tell me that the children of the apartheid should be shunned because they're attached to what people in their group did generations before. What about generations before in your party, sir? I mean, you're being told there's a genocide in Gaza. Here's an actual genocide. And your people like, no, y'all are just racist. Y'all just want to help them because you're evil people. I got it. A lot of you have questions about people tied to foreign adversaries buying land in Texas, and more than just land, farmland, properties, buildings, things like that. And where do we get answers? Let's go straight to the top. It's an honor to have the Texas Land Commissioner, Dr. Dawn Buckingham, on the James Show for the first time. Welcome, Dr. Dawn.
Hey, so great to be on with you today, and a big howdy to all your listeners.
All right, so as Texas Land Commissioner, what role do you play in all this who gets to own land situation?
Well, up to now, what I could do is disrupt a sale. In fact, we've intervened on the strategic purchase of a few properties where it had various reasons, whether it was border security or just blocking a Chinese national from purchasing a piece of Texas that we thought was strategic. And that was the extent to my ability. But now we're really excited about Senate Bill 17 by Senator Colcourse and, of course, carried by Representative Hefner in the House that would basically ban foreign nationals from countries that have been listed in the last 3 years as being a threat. Currently, that would be China, Iran, North Korea, and Russia, and make sure that they cannot buy real property, which is defined as agricultural land, commercial property, mines, quarries, and industrial property. We're currently seeing about 5.7 million acres in Texas that are foreign-owned, China accounting for almost 4% of those. So it's a problem. It's something that we need to address, and we're excited that the legislature is making a move on this.
Well, for some countries, like you can't really do business in China if you're a Chinese citizen without the blessing of the Chinese Communist Party. So it makes sense that pretty much any purchase from them is a proxy for the Chinese Communist Party. Why were they allowed to buy land up until now?
Well, I think you bring up a very valid point. It's because we didn't restrict it. They have the protectionist laws that protect them, and the Chinese Communist Party has a policy that basically conscripts every single one of their citizens to advance whatever their spy or whatever their plots are. So anyone who is of Chinese origin, who owns property in America, whether they were willing or not, would be coerced into helping the Chinese government with their hostile plans toward our nation.
So is there any truth to the fact that the Chinese government itself owns land in Texas?
Well, what we see are high-ranking government officials. For example,
Okay.
there was a high-ranking general that purchased a large piece of property adjacent to an Air Force base, built a landing strip on that property that could land any jet, including any military jet, and then built a wind farm and tried to tie into our grid and thus control our power supply. We had to pass a bill several years ago that would, of course, prevent hostile foreign nationals from tying into our grid because we don't want them controlling and crashing our grid.
Right.
But this next step is also incredibly important because we're seeing strategic Chinese nationals buy property all over the country adjacent to military bases. We're seeing them trying to acquire very important energy infrastructure, for example. And this is where we have a clear message. Texas is not for sale for foreign entities that want to do us harm.
So we're talking with Texas Land Commissioner Dawn Buckingham about foreign adversaries, or the citizens of foreign adversaries getting land in Texas. If not all foreign investment is bad, what are the kind of foreign investments you're looking to incentivize?
Well, I think you see foreign investment all over the place. There's lots of ways that are productive, but the bottom line is when you have a country that has basically been listed for 3 years as an adversary with obvious intent to harm us, we shouldn't just open our door and allow them to come and strategically place themselves adjacent to our military institutions, in control of our energy production, our food production. All those kind of things can be weaponized very rapidly, and that's what we're trying to prevent.
What do you say to the people who are concerned you could take it too far? You could be restricting too much development or running off projects that would otherwise benefit the people of Texas?
I think for the people who have concerns, we have good protections in the bill. The foreign national cannot live in the United States. They cannot have come here illegally through an illegal port of, or illegal way of entering. We've got protections for individuals to ensure that we're not overly shutting it down. And again, we're focused on those hostile nations that are strategically putting themselves in a place where they could hurt us.
Dawn Buckingham, when we have foreign investment come here, the kind I'm worried about is, like, before Elon Musk was a citizen, I would have liked it if he had started building all those Tesla plants here before anyone else. I love the fact that he got to buy big chunks of Texas to do his work with Starlink and SpaceX and all that. That's really my only concern. Is there's some people that want to do big projects in Texas because, we're such a free state in many ways. How do you allay my concerns that you won't run investments to an adjacent state?
Absolutely. It's the bottom line. It's hostile countries that have been listed.
What are the countries again?
It's right now it's China, Iran, North Korea, and Russia. And they have to be listed for 3 consecutive years on the most recent annual threat assessment reports by the Director of National Intelligence. So they have to peak at such a level that they get listed 3 consecutive years before foreign nationals of that entity are subject to this bill. So Elon Musk would have been just fine to move here and build all those Tesla plants right in Texas, straight out of the gate.
So what about all these tracts of lands, like the one you'd mentioned next to the airstrip? Are they going to have to give that up and put it back on the market, or are we seizing that? What happens to the existing land?
My understanding is the existing land stays put. It's for future transactions, but this bill enables the Attorney General and the Secretary of State to aid property owners in understanding who exactly owns the entity purchasing the land, because sometimes they put up fronts that aren't exactly accurate, and it gives the Attorney General the ability to take the land away or force its sale should it be determined that an illegal individual purchased this property.
We continue with your Texas Land Commissioner, Dr. Dawn Buckingham. Dr. Dawn, are you a real doctor that can prescribe drugs, or do you have some other field of expertise?
No, I am I was a practicing physician for 25 years as an oculoplastic surgeon, but then, of course, retired from practice when I won statewide. So I'm a real doctor.
Okay, so don't worry, I'm not going to ask you for pills or anything.
Depending on what pills you want.
Well, that might be my dad. Now, next thing that I think overlaps with your office quite a bit is the concern in North Texas around Sharia cities. I found out this one epic city was being proposed, and then you look in and there's about 6 of them that are being proposed in our region here. First off, is this even legal?
We're a full-on investigation to see that it's not, because, of course, it's not legal to discriminate based on religion. We have actually passed bills in Texas to be sure that Sharia law cannot trump, for lack of a better word, state or our federal laws. But we keep seeing them pop up. And this whole epic plan development, thousands of homes, a completely encapsulated type of community is, I think, nothing else than trying to use religion as a shield to promote a global Islamic state. A few years ago in a terrorism investigation, they found a memo, and I'm going to read the name of it to you because it's long, but it's an explanatory memorandum on the general strategic goal for the group in North America. And in that memo, they flat out said, we're going to do a civilization jihadist process aimed at eliminating and destroying the Western civilization from within and sabotaging its miserable house by their hands and the hands of believers. So this is a strategic plan to promote a global Islamic state, and it should absolutely be stopped.
Well, I'm going to throw a controversial angle at it, and I'm not sure if this really is my opinion or just something that I'm exploring. I don't have the legal expertise to really put my foot down on this. But how is this different than what we see with other cults? Like when David Koresh had his little compound outside of Waco. There was religious discrimination. You had to be a part of their religious group to live on this property. And so this kind of feels like a macro version of that with a Sharia city. They're going to have some more facilities, a school, a hospital, or whatever. But how is this not just considered like a big cult compound?
Well, I think you bring up an interesting perspective. In a cult compound, that's one piece of property owned by one person, and then you're allowed or not to allowed to live there. What we're talking about is an entire community where people are going to be able to buy homes or not based on their religious belief, which I think is in direct defiance of our laws.
But Don, we're just running out of time. So what if some sheikh who's funding this says, fine, I'll own all the property and they'll just live in it as my tenants?
Well, it's a pretty big piece of property. They're talking 1,000 additional homes, a mosque, and an Islamic community center. It's a lot more than just one or two homes that you let people move into.
Well, look, here's where I feel like this might get controversial in my opinion is my big difference in the compounds for the wackos like the David Koreshes of the world, or you could just say like the Mennonites or in any of these other religious sects, is that they don't have videos online of them sawing off people's heads for leaving their religion.
I think that's a good point. You're exactly right. Yes, I think that's a very good point.
Right. And so there's some discrimination there, but it's not like racial discrimination or discrimination based on inherent traits or immutable traits. This is discrimination based on, I don't like heads being sawed off.
Right. And you're talking Sharia law that allows multiple wives. It allows abuse of women. It allows genital mutilation. It allows all kinds of things that are inconsistent with our current laws.
I know. You make your wives cover up, and they say, well, they want to do that. Not when it's 104. I don't think they want to. when they're at the swimming pool, and I don't think less of them. I feel sorry for them. It's like, you don't have to do that. You're in America now. You're free. You don't have to just live in a whole headdress full of sweat there, because that's what I would be doing if I had one on. But legally speaking, with the tools at your disposal, Dawn Buckingham, as Land Commissioner, what can you do to stop them?
Well, we can do lots of things. We're having multiple agencies looking into it. Senator Cornyn has gotten the Department of Justice involved. Attorney General Kim Paxton is looking into various things. We've got environmental access is looking at it. So we're looking at it a lot of ways. They don't have the permits to build the houses. We think that their proposed and stated objective is inconsistent with state law, and I anticipate we will cease the community's further development.
Well, if there's any way we can help get the word out, just let me know. Be in touch. I hope I can keep this job for a little while, and we can do this again.
We'll look forward to that. Thanks so much.
Maybe there's some way we can put that in law. It's like, no, we don't approve of racial discrimination or even discrimination because you're a different religion. It's the head sawing. That's kind of where we draw the line. A couple of fun pieces of audio before I get you out of here. Robert F. Kennedy Jr. had a congressional hearing yesterday, got interrupted by some protesters having a hissy fit. This is another example of, this guy was a Democrat his entire life. I mean, he has a great Democrat pedigree. His last name's Kennedy. His dad was an attorney general under JFK. I mean, we know who this guy is. And the second he switches allegiance and puts on the other team's jersey, he's all of a sudden not fit for public consumption. He has to be shouted down. He's literally Hitler. I mean, think of how many people are in the orbit of Donald Trump right now, who himself, for most of his life, was declared a Democrat. Elon Musk spent the most of his life as a Democrat. And you have the other apparatchiks that are kind of hanging on around him, like Tulsi Gabbard. Not only was a Democrat, was running for president as a Democrat just 4 years ago? 5 years ago? Same thing with RFK. You'd say that about a lot of people. But RFK, trying to explain his thoughts on how to make America a healthier place, and some people just can't stand it and had a hissy
Third,
fit.
focus on achieving these goals while cutting costs for taxpayers. We intend to do more, a lot more, with less. The budget I'm presenting today supports these goals and reflects.
The witness will suspend. The committee will come to order. Capitol Police are asked to remove the individuals from the hearing room. Members of the audience are reminded disruptions will not be tolerated.
And that sounds like Bill Cassidy from Louisiana there.
Congress pays for bombs to kill troops in Gaza. Members of the audience are reminded disruptions will not be permitted.
All right, this goes on for another 30 seconds or so before they finally have to physically remove them from an active congressional, this was an official act of Congress, which you learned on January 6, 2021, is literally an insurrection. So now I guess we got to go round these people up. We'll go throw them in solitary confinement for a couple years without their full complement of due process hearings and see how you like it. Oh, that's right. We don't do that because we're not the bad guys. Oh, yeah, that's right. We're not going to do that because that was a gross overreaction and violation of human rights when y'all did it to the January 6ers. January 6ers, how you feel about this? Does that make you feel good? They get to go out and have hissy fits whenever they want. They get to go into places where they're not invited. They get to interrupt official acts of Congress and get away with it. What are they going to get? A misdemeanor, if anything? Did they just get kicked out and told not to, your passes are revoked? Ugly stuff, isn't it? Do we do that to them? Do we have goobers who will go interrupt just with random shouting, not even making a point, not even changing anything, just making a scene? Do we do that to them? So which side is more mature? Which side's more civilized? Which side is taking governance more like an adult versus a child? Pretty obvious if it happens over and over now, doesn't it? Next piece of audio that I think you'll get a good kick out of. There's a guy named 607 Unk. I suspect that's not his Christian name, primarily because he's self-proclaimed Black Hebrew Israelite. I don't know if he really is or if this is just a character he's playing, because he certainly seems to be in character. But this is at Capel City Council just, 2 days ago. And I love these people who do this. Do you understand what level of bravery it takes, even if this is an act? What level of just being able to swallow your fear and go out and do this? Because everyone's number one, not everyone, but when they do surveys, the number one fear of a majority of the population is public speaking. Then you have 607 Unk going to the Capel City Council and just running with it.
Number 607 UNC.
This on? Everybody, I'm locked in a firmament and I'm stuck in assimilation.
Name and address, please.
Oh yeah, my name. I'm from the Paroma. That's like in the heavens. It's like the same as heaven, but it's different.
Oh yeah.
And I came to talk about Trump because I love Trump, and y'all disrespect Trump, and y'all don't know that y'all devils, and y'all come from the devils. Y'all fell from heaven, and y'all don't know that Trump is good. He black stuck in another body because the world assimilation and everything is reincarnated. Oh, sorry, everything is reincarnated.
Everything.
And I got some papers I need y'all to sign because I'm trying to let everybody know that Michelle Obama is a man. Her name is Michael, and don't nobody know. But this right here, if y'all can help me sign this, we can kind of like get a gender reveal because she's a man. I mean, he's a man. It's kind of like a he, she. But it's different. But I need to get out the firmament. And I need to get to Antarctica. So I need you guys to help me get to Antarctica too. Right? Because y'all blocking me from Antarctica. And you doing it for sure because you know you fell from the heavens. And I can look at you and tell that you Neptolion, you Lucifer. You Satan. You devil. Leave Trump alone. And Hillary Clinton's stupid. And Bill Clinton did inhale that weed. He said he didn't, but he did. I know he did. Because who smoke weed and don't inhale? And that's all. Thank you guys for having me. I love you guys. America, make America great again. Put up the wall, and I love you. You love me. Bring Barney back.
That's what the James Show sounds like when I have too much coffee in the morning. All right, come on out and see me. The James Show is going to be on the road doing a live remote on Monday. Monday's show is going to be live. You can come out and watch the show, or you don't want to sit there for 3 hours. Just come by and do what most people do. Watch it for about 12 minutes and then move on. But it's the annual Mullen & Mullen Law Firm Charity Golf Tournament. It's going to be at Las Colinas Country Club this Monday, May 19th. Come on out, say hi, shake my hand, get a selfie, judge me based on my appearance. I'll be out there a little earlier than the show, but you can get that out there as soon as 7 a.m. if you're one of those early birds. Go on out. More information, mullenandmullen.com. All right, stick around. Mark Levin's coming up next. I'm James Parker. This has been The James Show, News Talk 820 and 93.3 FM, WBAP.